Alright, Chapter 4, Unit Maintenance, Section 1, Repair Parts, Special Tools, Test Measurements, and the Diagnostic Equipment, or TMDE, Support Equipment. 4.1 Common tools and equipment, special tools and test measurement and diagnostic equipment, support equipment, and repair parts. The common tools and equipment for authorized common tool for the equipment, Appendix B for the maintenance allocation chart with the modified table of the organization or equipment, their MTO applicability of the unit. The special tools and the technical test measurement, diagnostic equipment and support equipment, special tools are illustrated in the lowest in the repair part special tool list for the Appendix C with the test measurement, diagnostic equipment, support equipment, listing in the maintenance allocation chart, MAC, Appendix B. 4.3, repair parts are listed and illustrated in Appendix C of this manual. Section 2, Service Upon Request. 4.4, General. 4.5, Inspection Instruction. 4.6, and Servicing Instruction. When new you with the reconditioned M870A3 with the trailer is first received, determine whether it has been properly prepared for the service in any condition with it performed as mission file with the inspection procedure instruction, paragraph 4.5 of the service instruction 4.6. Inspection Instruction. Read the following instruction, the DOD Form 1397, the remove all the straps, plywood, tape, the seal, the wrapping, any other shipping material. Warning, solvents that can burn exit easily with a can off harmful vapors are harmful to skin, cloth, and clothing, and to avoid the injury of the death. Keep it away from the open fire as well. The well unrelated. If solvents get on the skin and clothing, will immediately soap in the water. The exterior parts of the coated with the rust and prevent compound. Remove the clean compound. Item 19, Appendix F of the rags. And items 5 of the Appendix F. 15 of the Appendix F, and inspect the equipment the damage occurred during the shipment. Also check to see if the equipment has been modified. Check the equipment against for the packing slip to ensure the shipping is complete. Report any discrepancies. Service instruction. Perform the unit maintenance, preventive maintenance check service schedule to do the next. The permanent maintenance check service in DOD Form 31.4. Perform all lubrication regardless of the interval described in lubrication instruction Appendix I. Report any problems. Alright, General Maintenance Instruction. General, 4.7, 4.8, Work Study, 4.9, Cleaning Instruction, 4.10, Preservation of Parts, 4.11, Painting, the 4.12, the Inspection Instruction, the 4.13, Disassembly Instruction, 4.14, Lubrication Instruction, 4.15, Application Adhesive, 4.16, String Tool Requirements, 4.17, Tag Wires and Hoses, 4.18, Soldering, 4.19, Heat Shrinkable Tubing, 4.20, Electrical Ground Points, 4.20, Line Ports, and 4.22, Anti-Seize Tape, 4.23, Tubes and Compression Fittings, and 4.24, Fluid Disposals, 425 surface replacement cart kits, and 426 welding, and 427 electrical repair. 47 general. The general maintenance instruction contains the general shop practice. The specific method that must be prepared with the properly maintained the equipment. You should read and understand these practices and methods before performing any maintenance procedure. Before beginning the task, to find out how much repair, modification, replacement is needed to fix the equipment. Sometimes it requires when the equipment the failure can be seen right away with a complete tear with the down. It's not necessary to assemble the equipment only as far as necessary to repair or replace the damaged part. In some cases, the part of the damage during the removal of the parts for the repair to be good, other than parts behind it are not defective. Leave it in place. Continue with the procedure over the few simple rules. Do not remove the dowel pins from the sides unless the bent or broken, otherwise damaged. Do not remove the bearings or bushings unless damaged. If you need to remove the axis of the parts behind, carefully at pulling out the bearings and the bushing. 3. Replace all the gasket, lock, washer, self-knocking nuts, seals, cotter pins, and perform packages. D. The following initial setup and forms apply with the maintenance procedure. Resources not listed unless they apply with the procedure. Personal requires not only listed only one or more of the mechanics required to complete the procedure. All tags and forms attached for the equipment it must be checked with the later and learn a reason for the removal of the equipment from services, modification, work orders, technical bulletins must also be checked with the equipment and change the updates. Work safety. Before beginning with the procedure, think about the safety risks that has with yourself and others. Wear protective gas gear with such as goggles and lenses, safety shoes with rubber aprons and gloves. Before beginning with the procedure, ensure the following conditions are observed unless otherwise specified. The trailers coupled and should be parked on level ground with the primary move and braking set. Engine must be in the off primary move is coupled to the trailer unless otherwise indicated. Components must be operating with temperature is to be tested. C. Immediately clean up at the speed of the spilled fluids to avoid slipping when lifting the heavy parts of the someone help you ensure the lifting equipment of the jacket is working properly, meets the work requirement. The parts being lifted and then securely fastened to a part. Always use the power tools carefully. 4.9 Cleaning instruction. Warning: the improper cleaning method if you use the unauthorized cleaning liquids or solvents that can injure the personal or damage equipment. To prevent the refer to the PDM 9247 for the further instruction. General cleaning instruction will be same over the majority parts of the components which the makeup of the equipment. The following apply with all the cleaning operation. Clean all the parts before inspection, after repair, and before assembly. Keep the hands of the grease free of grease which can collect dust and dirt and grit. After cleaning all the parts, cover the wrap to protect the dust and dirt from the parts of the subject. The rust should be lightly oiled after cleaning. Paragraph 410. B. Casting and forging machine metal parts. Warning: solvents can be easily give off the harmful vapors and harmful to the skin, clothing. To avoid death, injury or death, keep it away from the open fire as well as well ventilated. Insolvent gets the skin or clothing immediately. Soap and water. Clean the inner and outer surface with a clean compound. Item 19, appendix F, for the dry with clean rags. Appendix 15, appendix F, for the grease the accumulated deposit with the scrub brush. Appendix item 3 of the appendix F, for the compressed air used for the electrical, used for the cleaning of the drying for purpose of the clearing. Restrictions should never exceed 30 psi with the wear protective goggles and shield and gloves. Used for the caution to avoid injury of the personnel. Clear the thread hole of the compressor of the reserve. Caress and remove the dirt and fluids. Do not, caution, do not wash electrical cable with flexible hose with the dry clean solvent with the mineral spirits. Serious damage to destruction material will result. Seal electrical cables and flexible hoses. Wash the electrical base with flexible hose with the solution of the detergent. Item 8 with appendix F with the water with the will dry with a clean rag. Item 15 appendix F. General cleaning covered by other manuals. Refer to TM 9247 for the materials used for the cleaning of the pervasive, the corroding with the commanding ordnance material with the related materials including chemicals. Unpainted metal parts for the preservation of parts. 410. Unpainted metal parts will be not be installed immediately after cleaning. Should be covered with a coat of thin lubricating oil. Appendix item 13 appendix F. 411. Painting. On unpainted areas where the paint has been removed with the part in accordance with the paragraph of the procedure outlined in TM 430139 or technical bulletin 43209. 412, inspection instructions. Note that all damaged areas should be marked with the repair. The placement, all components must be carefully checked to determine if they are serviceable. If they can be repaired, must be scraped. Inspect the drill tapped thread holes for the following: where distortion, cracks, with any other damage around the whole thread area with the wear distortion, stretching the bevins with the cross threading, and inspect the metal line with the flexible hoses, lines, or hoses, metal fittings, and connectors of the following: metal lines are sharp kinks, the cracks or bends and dents, and flexible lines, hose with the fraying of the ebbs, and if the leakage of loose and mating metal fittings and connectors, metal fittings and connectors, thread damage of worn and round heads, axe heads, and inspecting, cast, forging, machine metal parts with the following: machine surface with the nicks, burns, gorges, the groves, the raised metal bar, and wear other damage, and inner and outer surface of the brake and crack, and inspecting the wart bearings in accordance with the TM 9214. 413, disassembly and instruction. For the following general practice for the performance, disassembly and assembly of the procedure, keep the major components together with their other possible and practical to tag hose, electrical wires, capable of harness, identify the aid during the installation. Keep the related parts together with identification purposes. Keep temporarily install the attaching hardware such as screws and bolts and washers, not to prevent loss. And only disassemble the point to the point of the problem. 6, ensure that the parts are clean and lubricated before assembly. Lubrication instruction. And refer to appendix I for the detailed instruction for the proper lubrication. The following are some of the general practices use. Always use the correct lubrication. Keep the lubricants clean. Clean all the fittings to prior lubrication. Lubrication disassembly of the new parts to prevent rust. Paragraph 2410. General adhesive. The recommended some of the tasks to ensure the strength of the seals and following information describes the correct use of the application. Silicone seal. Silicone sealant. Item 16 of the appendix F. The seal parts against the moisture. Use the following instruction when applying. Anytime the seal is broken, the most part must be thoroughly cleaned to remove any of the remaining sealant compound and dirt. Thoroughly clean the surface before applying sealant. When applying sealant, ensure the air of the completely covered place the sealant into the round in the necessary. A silicone sealant will set in 15 to 30 minutes depending on the temperature and the humidity. Loctite adhesive. Loctite adhesive, the item 1 of the appendix F, that provides the seals against the leakage of the resistant loosening of the assembly threaded and press fitted parts. Always use the grade of Loctite adhesive specified. Never use the retaining means provided with the such. Likewise, the lock washers, lock plates, and the fasteners. Do not use Loctite adhesive. The brassing fittings, the plugs, the items that was never frequent surfacing when operating with the temperature exceed 300 degrees Fahrenheit. The applied Loctite adhesive as follows. Before application, clean the threads of the removal of the oil, grease, and metal chips. Apply the Loctite adhesive to the second, third threads. Do not apply to the first threads to ensure the system cleanliness. Loctite adhesive will dry within 6 to 24 hours at room temperature. Adjusting the elbows engaged with the valve can be made within up to 24 hours after the application without affecting the seal. 216 standard tool requirements. The following general practices regarding the use of the tools. Always use a proper toolkit tool. The procedure for being performed. Ensure the tools are clean. Lubricate the procedure. Reduce the wear of the prevent rust. Keep the track of the tools. Do not be careless when with them. Return the tools to the toolbox when finished with the repair of the maintenance for tools. Return the toolbox tools to the tool storage when not in use. Vent the tools before and after use. Some maintenance tasks may be required with special fabricated tools for the initial setup of the procedure, specifying special fabricated tools needed to perform the procedure. Use these special tools only for the maintenance procedure for which they are designed or called out. If you are unfamiliar with the required tools, see your supervisor. 417, tagging wires and hosings. Tagging wire and hoses. Use the marking tags at item 20 of the appendix F to identify the electrical wire line with the other parts of the which may be hard to identify with the replacement part. The replace later. Fasten the parts of the tag during the removal of the wrapping the wire. Fasten around with the through of the parts twisting and end together. Position the tag to which of the way that during the cleaning and inspection repair. Mark tag with a pencil and marker and pencil, pen, or marker. Whenever possible, identify electrical wire for the number of the terminals wired to which the connects the both no markers be found with the tag both wires of the terminal. You for the identifying the mark for the both. If it cannot be tagged with because it must be thrown with a small hole or cannot reach it, write down on the description of the wire that points with the context of the draw with a simple diagram on a paper. Be sure to write it down and information you'll be able to properly connect the wires during an assembly. If you need to identify a loose wire, look for the identifying number to the near end of the wire stamped on the permanent metal tag. Compare the number of the wire number with the appropriate electrical schematic. Identify the wires on tag, taking off the more than one line at the same time. Mark tags with the point of which the lines hose that must be connected. Not obvious where the end of the line goes where a tag ends each end of the line. Identify tag and other parts required for the name and installed location. 418. Soldering. Caution. Using low voltage soldering gun with the soldering electrical wires connected to the terminal lugs receptacles. High wattage soldering guns may be damaged part of the overheating. Solder connections must be brightened with a clean before soldering. Remove the dirt and grease with a wire brush. Item 4. Appendix F or a pocket knife. The soldering may be used must be lead or alloy. Item 18. Appendix F of the soldering flux of the item 9. Appendix F with all the wires parts on the soldering gun must be tinned and for a good connection with the maximum transfer of heat. To prevent overheating and damage electrical parts with the soldering unsoldering connections, hold the bare wire lead and terminal lug close to the soldering point with the long round nose pliers. Pliers attack the heat sink and absorb the exit heat. 419. Heat shrinkable tubing. The heat shrinkable tubing of item 25 of the appendix F of the insulated with the solder of the crimped electrical connections is followed with the cut desired length of the new heat shrinkable tubing twice the length of the connection to be covered. The slide of the heat shrink tubing over the wire and out with the way before the making for the electrical connection. After making the electrical connection, slide the heat shrink tubing in place over the electrical connection. Warning: do not touch the heat sink tubing for at least 30 seconds after heating. The shrink tube is hot when it will burn you. Hold air at blow gun at 4 to 5 inches away from the heat sink tubing. Apply with the heat approximately 30 seconds to stop applying the heat with the heat shrinking tubing formed the shape of the electrical connection. 420. Electrical ground points. Many electrical problems are resolved with a poor ground connection, but you ensure that the ground connections are in good performance. The following steps: all the battery ground cables must be connected in order to test the electrical circuit voltage. Disconnect the ground cable from the primary before performing the resistance test. The replacement parts or the preventing of the shock of the personnel or the damage of parts of the equipment. 1. Remove the hardware connecting ground cable to the terminal lug with the ground point. Warning: solvent can be easily burned easily. Can give the harm of vapor to harmful to skin and clothing. To avoid injury to de-adapt, keep away from open fire. Use well ventilated areas. Solvent and clean with the skin and with the clothing immediately with soap and water. Clean mounting hardware ground cable terminal lug with ground point with the cleaning of the compound. Item 19 appendix F and scrub brush. Item 4 item 3 of the appendix F. Remove any of the rust with the wire brush. Item 4 appendix F with the loose of the crack loosen terminal lugs. Strip threads, replacing the defective parts. Install the hardware connection ground cable to terminal lugs to the ground point. Ensure that all the hardware is tight. 421. Line and ports. Warning: high pressure hydraulics oil under the 2450 psi used to operate with equipment computers to the body tissue and it cause severe injury to the personnel. Never disconnect any hydraulic line fitting without the first dropping the pressure to zero. For a safety guide with a performance leakage check for the valve, the failure to do so may result in serious eye or injury due to the high pressure oil. To keep the dirt contaminating the fluid in the system when removing and installing the lines, perform the following steps: clean the fittings surrounding the area before the disconnect the lines. Cover the cap of the plug of the tape lines at the points after disconnecting lines. Use the cap and plug of the air lines. If they're not available, leave the hand-carved wooden plugs, clean rags, and items of 15 for the appendix F, for the duct tape, and item 22 for the appendix F. Other similar materials to prevent dirt from entering the system. Ensure the new and the used parts are clean before installing. Wait to remove the caps. Wait to remove the coverage caps and plugs of the tape from the lines and ports until just before installing the lines. 1422. Anti-seizing tape. Caution: apply anti-seizing tape only with the pipe threads of the male fitting of the air system. The damage of the air valves may result when connecting the air lines of the fittings with the compression sleeve of the packing. The anti-seizing tape, item 21 appendix F, may be used to keep the connection with the leaking and the use of the valves. Ensure the threads are clean and dry. Start the anti-seize tape on 1 or 2 threads from the small of the leading edge of the fitting of the joint tape together with the overlap of about 1/8 inch for the fitting of the fine threads for the fittings of the coarse threads. Tape should be wrapped around threads threads 2 or 3 times. Tighten the wrap anti-seize tape the same direction as you would tighten a nut. Tape that must be pressed into threads without cutting and ripping. Caution: do not exceed the specified torque. Use the power tool for tightening the tape. Anti-seize tape, often over-tightening, could damage the fitting of the threads and cause the connection to leak. 4. Using hand tools, tighten the fitting to the specified torque. Alright, tubes and compression fittings. The same compression fitting, the tubes with inverted with the nuts of the compression fittings are designed for the one-time assembly. One assembly with it must be replaced with as unit. The parts of the found defective. Used parts must not seal with the properly used the new ones. Used tube, the assembly with good condition being reinstalled with the original location with the leaking. Assembly new tube, the compression sleeve, inverted nuts as follows. Slide inverted nuts on 2 on the end of the tube 3 with the slide compression sleeve 1 on the end of the tube 3. Repeat the previous 2 steps on the other end of the tube as required. 4. Insert the end of the tube as far as it will go in the compression fitting to which the tube is being installed. Twist the inverted nut 2 into the compression fitting of the tighten the inverted nut against the compression sleeve with the open end branch of the compression sleeve will clamp down around the tube, forming the internal surface of the compression fitting of the inverted nut. Remove the previous 2 steps. Other end of the tube is required. Pneumatic pushing fittings. Micro lock fittings are used with some of the connections of the spring brake control valve with the pushing on like collar grips of the release of the tubing required to provide the quick disconnection feature of the air tube line tubing with the fitting with the use of the tool without use of tools. To separate the tubing with the fitting with depressing the fitting collar unit until the bottom of the against for the fitting of the withdrawing the tube. To assemble the tubing onto the fitting and insert the tubing into the fitting until the bottom of the pushing it out until the tube twice to verify the tubing is inserted with the pass collar and O-ring. Pull the fitting collar out of the lock tubing and pull the tubing in to verify the lock is in place. Tubing cut for insertion is fitting and it must be squarely out. The maximum allowable angle is 15 degrees. Use of the tube cutting and test and tool is recommended. 424. Fluid disposal. With service warning that when the service of the vehicle to perform maintenance disposing of the materials such as engine coolant, transmission fluid, lubricant, battery acids, or batteries or CARC paint, the consult with the unit of the local hazardous waste disposal center, safety equipment, safety of the local regulatory guidance. For the further information needed, contact with the Army Environmental Hotline 1-800-872-3845. 425. Service replacement parts and kits. Many service replacement carts are available. The standard side as well as the various underside or overside. The service kits are in rigging condition. Certain parts of the service set, which include all parts necessary to complete the procedure, is also available. 426. Welding. Caution: if the welding trailer is not to be, must be uncoupled from the primary move with the file. Failure to file with the warning may damage electronic components. Refer to the Teal Manual 9237 operating manual with welding theory application instruction welding components. 427. Electrical repair. General specific electrical system maintenance tasks are covered in Chapter 4, Section 6. Section 6 of this manual. Section 4, Unit Preventive Maintenance Check Services. General explanation of the table entries, general lubrication procedure, general preventive maintenance check services, preventive maintenance check services, initial setup, lubrication data table 4.1, 434, mandatory replacement parts 4.2, unit preventive maintenance check services, preventive maintenance check services, and the M870A3 trailer, or MHET. General, to ensure that the trailer is ready to operation all the time, lubricated and inspected with a regular basis. The defect that may be found with the result of the serious damage equipment, the failure to the injury or personnel with the favorable one for the lace for the type of the amount with the temperature range for the lubricant required for the specified interval of the table 4.2 that contains the systematic instruction, lubrication, inspection, adjustment, correction to be performed with the unit maintenance for the keeping the equipment for the good operating condition ready for the primary mission. 429. Explanation of the table 4.2 entries. Item number 1, item number column with the number of the columns are referenced within the DA form of the 2404 equipment inspection maintenance worksheet, included with the number of the check services, including the full. Other numbers also appeared in the order that you must appear with the check-in service for the interval listed. Interval column. The column tells you tells you when you must perform the procedure. With the procedure column, semi-annual procedures must be done once every 6 years. Annual procedures must be done once a year. Location item is check service. The column identifies the location of the item to be checked in service. Explanation of Table 4.2 entries continues. Note the warning of the cautions appearing with the permanent maintenance check server. The table should be always preserve washing. Warning and cautions appear with the before applicable. The procedure warning and caution must preserve the preventing serious injury to yourself without the preventing of your equipment and being damaged. Procedure column. The column will give you the procedure must be provided to check with the service of the item listed in the item of the check server. The column to notify the equipment is ready for the available the intended punishment for the operation and perform the procedure for the time stay for the interval. Now fully mission capable. If the column information column tells you the fall of the to keep the equipment capable of performing the primary mission to make the check of the service procedure. So the faults listed in the column. The equipment is not mission capable of following standard operating procedure to maintain the equipment for the reporting equipment failure. General lubrication procedures refer to the appendix I for the lubrication instruction for the lubrication chart key for the localized views.
You want to go to the library?
No.
It's 2 o'clock. I have to go to the store right now.
Just because I gotta go somewhere, I'm cutting the tape at 4:30, page 96, part 4, general lubrication procedures.